What's up, guys? Welcome to the Rest of Your Perception podcast. So today, it's story time, and I'm going to talk about a pretty significant event that happened in my life, specifically in my career. For those of you that don't know, I am a career fireman, and the call that I had 2 shifts ago, I just got off this morning, but 2 shifts ago, was pretty significant, probably the most significant in my career. It's gonna be 8 years in February, which is next month, that I've been a career fireman. And this is the type of call that you go to school for. You imagine what you're gonna do. You imagine how you're gonna react. What you train for. What you do grueling workouts for. What you mentally prepare for. This is the call, and I had it, and I know there's other guys that have probably had several of these, but it's not something that happens all the time. But just from all the bullshit calls you get, people with bleeding dicks and fucking sore throats, and the biggest bullshit you could imagine, we run on it, and we get it regularly. All that doesn't matter when something like this happens. So 2 shifts ago, I had a great crew that I was with on my truck, and I'm not going to go into details on the people because I'm not mentioning any names, obviously, but I will go into the feelings and the senses that were activated through this call and through the whole process from start to finish. If anybody, I'm sure there's other guys that could relate to this if they watch it, or people that could relate to a crazy event that's happened in their life. I mean, we, as firemen, as paramedics, you see crazy things pretty regularly, but significant events that really stick out, that really test you mentally and physically, it's pretty interesting to see how you react and take a step back and look at it through a different lens. And that's what I did, and I'm going to explain how I did it and how I reacted and how I'm doing, pretty much, because people through significant events react differently. Some worse, some better, and some nothing. So we had a pretty busy shift, the usual, and we had a busy night, and then I lay down after my last call, and then at 3:30 in the morning we get the call. Tones go off for a structure fire. Okay, I have a little app on my phone. I check the app as I get dressed and I'm running to the truck. I have an app on my phone to see where the address is, and it's out of our territory. It's the next territory over. Okay, we get into the truck, everybody's getting dressed. The captain tells us, he explains to us, smoke coming from the structure, people screaming trapped inside. Okay, right away, shit kind of clicks in your head a little bit. All right, every time you get a significant call, you always get on high alert. But when you hear people trapped inside, it's like, all right, there's a lot of different things that are going on. There's a lot of different things I have to do, depending on who's there, depending on your officer, what he says, or he or she says, and your partner. Everybody has different strengths, different weaknesses, so it has you thinking about a lot of different things. So we arrive on the call, and the company that got there first, and it was their territory, we got in there, I believe we were the third unit, because there was the 2 units, it might have been the 4th, I'm not sure. The 2 units that arrived there, it was their territory, then the one was nearby as well. I don't remember exactly, forgive me. And so we get there, the crew meets to the front of the truck, we grab our tools and we go with with our captain and our driver, and he's checking up on the other drivers, whatever. We go to the front of the house, hoses inside, they're putting out the fire. And forgive me, I'm trying to just replay the events. I hear someone say, I got a baby. So one of the guys grabs the baby, hands it off to another guy. Guy runs out, brings the baby to the rescue. I don't know. I'll explain what happened to the baby. Unfortunately, baby didn't make it. Absolutely terrible. And it was, I believe it was a 5-month-old child. And that's when I went in. And I believe my captain was behind me. I don't even know. But when you're dealing with a situation like this, you hear things that go on and you kind of go into a mode where things just kind of fall into place. And in this particular call, we didn't really have to speak much to each other because everybody kind of knew what they had to do. And aside from great tragedy in this event, people that I worked with, and I believe there was probably 20 firemen there, they just knew what they had to do. There was minimal talking. Everybody just picked up the slack and found work wherever it was necessary. And that's one of the beautiful things I got out of this fucking horrible tragedy. So I hear that, okay. I go in, the fire just got put out. They just put out the fire, so it's still smoking, it's still hot. And I go into the room, he's like, I got another person over here. So I hear him like, where are you? And I see him, I see his light. So I go over to the room, and the other guy has the victim's legs. It's a male. So I go over and I reach under his arms, and I start dragging him out. And the house had tons of shit everywhere. Just piles of clothing, furniture, shit everywhere. It was like a hoarder house, unfortunately. And unfortunately that it's very common. I wish people wouldn't do that just as a fire hazard. It's so unfortunate and it's sad. And so I get the guy underneath his arms, and the other guy on the other truck, my coworker, he wasn't on my truck, but he was on the other truck. So I grabbed underneath, and we're pulling this guy out. And I'm stepping over this stuff, and I'm practically falling. And I'm like, do not drop this guy. I'm saying to myself, do not drop this guy. And I'm kind of having an out-of-body experience because I'm like, holy shit, this is really happening. This is happening. This is basically why I got this job, was to be there at the worst time, at a moment like this, unfortunately. And you don't want this to ever happen. You don't. You train for it, but you do not want this to ever happen. But you're ready for it. I mean, you can never be 100% ready, but you're as ready as you can be. At least I am, and that's the way that I feel, and that's the way that I think, and I know there's a lot of other guys like that, and girls as well. They take it seriously. And so I'm dragging this guy out with the other guy, and obviously he's unconscious from smoke inhalation. And I'm dragging him out, and then I stumble, get up, dragging him out, and then I get past the front door, and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm gonna drop this guy. And then I'm walking backwards, and then there's like a double curb, and I fall. And so right into the grass. So I have the guy in the grass. Thank God he fell like on me into the grass. My captain comes over. He's like, hey, come on, let's drag him off to the grass. So we drag him. I throw my gloves off. I start doing compressions. I have my pack on, my mask on. I didn't give a shit. You just start doing compressions. My captain goes back inside because there's another victim in there. And I believe my partner that day got the victim out. It was the mother. So this was the father and then the mother. And we got them both out, and I was doing compressions on the dad. And he didn't have a pulse at first. And then And as I was doing compressions, my captain came out they came out with the female. They started working on her. We had some other firemen working on her. Someone came up. I said, I need O2. I need oxygen. Let's get a BVM on this guy. Let's get an on rebreather first. Get a BVM ready. They took care of the airway. They started giving the guy oxygen. The guy got a pulse back. We put him back on the stretcher. When the stretcher arrived, and another crew was working the female, the mother, with CPR. So another rescue arrived, performed compressions on her, transferred her. And everything happened so fast, and it was so crazy that every second really felt like minutes. And just being in that moment in this whole situation was surreal, absolutely surreal. And it was insane. And it was tragic. It was chaos. It was ran to the best ability that I feel like that a department could run it, with the people that we had there, with the guys that we had there. Everybody just fell into place and knew their position, knew their role, and took their job that was handed to them at that point, and everybody excelled. And it was, although there was major tragedy, there's 2 people that are alive right now. I think they're both in critical condition. I don't know the exact story, but they are still alive. And unfortunately, they lost a child, and they lost a grandmother. So it's really unfortunate. The grandmother was basically the seat of the fire, and she became unrecognizable through burns. So she was found during the investigation. It's terrible, and I have to share this because this is a significant event for anyone, and for the people that were on that call. I say guys because it was all guys, so if I use that term, if there was female firefighters, I would say it. But it was, every single company had a guy. We're all guys. So anyway, it was intense. And so after the call, we'll go step by step like that. So we stayed on scene. We got our tools. We had to change our bottles out. Talk to each other. Got some gross decon, which is when they'll spray us down, because we were in a when you're in a hazardous environment, the smoke and all that soot and everything that's on you want to wash it off as quick as possible, because it does cause cancer. See, hey, there's a scar. If you guys watched the previous videos. But so we stayed on scene. We talked to, the chiefs, officers. Everybody was, checking on each other, and immediately in a big situation like this, in a significant event, you go and do a CISM, critical incident stress debriefing or management, and basically they brought a therapy dog in, and just to have, for people to say their piece on the story, how they felt, what they saw, how they saw it, and it all stayed confidential. I'm talking about it in detail, but I'm leaving out obviously what people said and who was there and where it was. So I'm not going to give up any information like that, but it was interesting. to say the least, because the call came up at 3:30, 4 o'clock, or probably got to the station, one of the stations in my county, at like 5:30, and we had coffee and everybody talked, and we all greeted each other, we hugged each other, and they were explained to us basically like it's like a peer support group that we have, and I'm lucky to be friends with one of the guys that was actually on my truck that night, and he's a regular at my station. I'm very fortunate to be friends with him, and he was one of the guys explaining it like, listen, some guys feel it immediately, some guys don't feel it until later, some guys don't feel it, some people don't even feel it at all, and it affects everybody differently, but you have to recognize certain things. Like, one of the things that stuck out to me was don't isolate. Solitude is good, but don't isolate yourself from your family, from your friends. They couldn't stress it enough. I mean, talking to a therapist, obviously, and we have all those options to talk to people, professionals in that sense. But talk to people that you trust, people that you can, let your emotions out to, that you could cry to. And so I was like, all right, this is good information. And on top of that, on top of everything, the lack of sleep you had all day is gonna fuck with you even more, with as far as like fucking with your emotions, and with it basically amplifies everything that's negative in your life or that you're feeling. When you have sleep deprivation or lack of sleep interruption, everything is just amplified, and that's a fact, because I felt it, and I feel it, pretty often after shift. So with that being said, I leave, I go back to my station, and shift change, I talk to the guys, I get coffee, had breakfast, showered up, washed my gear, did more of a decon on my gear, and explained the story to the guys and girls, because I think there was a girl or two on the next incoming shift. It's predominantly a male career, so don't get offended, you fucking pussies. Excuse me. I say pussies with all due respect, because some guys bitch and complain about stupid things. But yeah, so and I drove, and I got in my car. I made sure I ate before I left, because I was like, man, I know, because I like to fast sometimes, like an idiot. No, I'm not like an idiot. Fasting is actually good. I like it. Intermittent fasting. That's the thing, right? So I drive home, and I made sure that I ate breakfast. I normally don't, but I did. The guys made some good breakfast. And so I'm driving home, and I call my wife. And for those of you that watch previous videos or know me, my wife wasn't doing well, but she's getting better. Thank God, she's getting better. And I told her what was going on. She's like, listen, take your time. And we spoke, I told her everything. And it was a great thing, because it's been a while. With her disease, she hasn't been right for a while in her mind. It affects every system in your body, your nervous system, your your psyche, your endocrine system, digestive system. This parasites and bacteria destroy your body from the inside out, and your brain, heart. So whatever, that's a whole, I already did a podcast on that, and I'll do another one later. But my wife was there for me that day, and the fact that she's getting better made a big difference. made a huge difference. And I told her, just we had a big talk about the call, and she's like, I'm like, can you just put the sauna on for me? She's like, don't worry about it. Take however much time you need. And she made sure I was okay. She's like, you still want to talk about it? I said, no, I'm good. I got home, and I thought about the call, and I didn't, it's a tragedy. We see tragedy pretty often, but this is more like tragedy, like that you feel like you could directly impact, but sometimes it's out of your hands, unfortunately. And this 2 lives were out of our hands, unfortunately. And it wasn't because of any other reason that fire gets fucking hot and it kills people fast. And the more fuel that a fire has, the more dangerous it is. And the more things that are in a home that can cause that fire to make it hotter is, the more stuff you have piled into a small space. It's a fire load, it's fuel. And unfortunately, this place had a lot of it. And I don't know how it started. I don't know who started, if it was electrical. I don't know any of that. But it was out of our hands. That first arriving engine company put that fire out, and within 5 minutes of being dispatched out to this call, and they got in there, and when we got there after, assisted them with dragging the people out. So kudos to them, because they went in there and kicked ass and put that fire out super quick. So I go home, and my wife turned a sauna on for me. We have a sauna. No, I'm not fucking rich. I went into debt getting a sauna because we got a sauna because it helped for my wife's condition, how to help her recover. And it was one of the few things that actually made her feel better. So I was like, fuck it. We're going to get an infrared sauna, and it'll be good for me too. So we have a sauna in the garage. And so I went in there and I turned my music on and basically did like I prayed in it. I cried in it while listening to my music. I cried like a little bitch. So I prayed and cried. So that would be it. I pried. So I pried in my sauna. I listened to my playlist that I listened to, and it was an interesting experience because I basically played out the whole event. And in this situation, you think of like your family, whether you have kids or not. Me, I'll tell you from my perspective, I thought about my kids, I thought about my wife, I thought about how far we've come, how far we've come with my personal journey, with my wife's journey, with basically coming back from being handicapped. So my wife, and then this, and then this job, and why I chose it, and why I'm here, and in the end of all that praying and crying, because I prayed to God, being thankful for giving me the strength to do what I do, to endure these crazy calls mentally, to endure what I go through with my family. And I ended up coming out of it grateful. And that was the end result. And obviously I prayed for the family. I prayed for the victims. I prayed for their friends to recover from this. And I prayed for the parents of the child and the grandkids of the grandmother that passed to come out of this and make a positive impact. I don't know how, because you think about it and you're like, I wish if that was me, I wish they would have fucking left me in there if I lost a kid. But that's not what we do. We save people. That's it. No, I'm not drinking because I'm sad. I'd really like to taste bourbon. And I'm really not sad. But I just hope these people come out of it, and I really hope they do come out of it, and they can do something positive. I don't know how. I don't know if I'll ever see them. But I gave every fucking thing I had to help them. And we all did. And that was a beautiful thing. And I came out of it after crying to my son like a sniveling bitch. And like I said before, I was grateful. My biggest thing was just gratitude. I know it sounds cliche. Practice gratitude. Oh, be grateful. Like all these guys on the fucking internet that talk about that. I've been practicing gratitude since I was a little kid. I always thanked God for everything that I have. And I teach my kids to thank God. Don't pray for things. Don't pray for toys. Don't pray for money. Pray to give you the strength to endure the shit, to endure the worst in your life. That's what I always prayed for. And be grateful for everything that you have. That's what I always prayed for. And in my crying bitch session, which actually I think it really helped. It definitely helped because I feel like I let everything out. Everything came out, and I was able to just go on with my day. And I had a beautiful night. I was so fortunate to have, after being just sleep deprived and beat to shit, it doesn't normally happen this way. And I don't know why it didn't. I can't attribute it to fucking crying in the sauna, can I? I don't know. But it helped me so much. It's like I just sweated everything out. I cried it all out. I figured it all out. I sorted it out in my head. I spoke to my wife about it. I spoke to my other buddies about it. And I came out with being grateful for the job I have. I found a new love for the job, and that doesn't matter, honestly. Yeah, it matters that I kept my mental health and I stayed safe, but 2 people died. A child died. Someone's mother died. Like, there's no joy in that. Obviously, it's terrible. But there really is no other way out of it. You know, you have to think about everything you did and your intentions, because there was no other shot for these poor people that had to deal with this. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the career that I have. I'm grateful for the skills that I possess, whatever minimal skills they are, for the medium to large size balls that I have. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for a lot of things in my life. I'm grateful for the skill to endure. I really am. And I'm even grateful for the fact that I can think about this in a healthy way. So I know it's not easy on people. And I really hope that people will get whatever help that they need. And if people need to reach out to people in their department or even reach out to me, I'll talk to you. You know, absolutely. And so after that, after the whole sauna crying session, it was pretty cool because it was like a meditation. I prayed, I cried. It was an interesting session. And I came out and then immediately went to a cold shower because Joe Rogan told me to. No, no, because it helps. It's supposed to be an immune booster, right? I feel good every time I do it. So I went into the cold shower. I came out and I don't know why, but well, of course I know why. I immediately started playing with my kids. Another thing I got from the stress stress debriefing that we had, the crisis stress debriefing that we had. They said whatever you do today and coming in the next few weeks, really it's a statement for the rest of your life. Be present, be in the moment. And I was like, you know what, you're right. Because you find yourself with your kids or with someone that you care about or a friend, and you go on your phone and you fuck off on your phone. It's especially with the kids. And I have to catch myself, and I gotta fucking throw my phone. And I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna be fucking present with my kids. I'm gonna take my phone, I'm gonna go put it in the room. I'm not even gonna keep it next to me because I don't give a shit who calls me right now. And it enhanced my connection with the kids, because I always had an appreciation for life, and I always had an appreciation for everything around me. I really do. But that day it just made it different. And I was like, I was in the moment, and being in the moment helped very much. And as tired as I was, I just immediately started running around the house with the kids, and we had a blast. And my wife was great. We did something. I don't remember what we did. We took them to the park or something, or to ice cream. This place called LICC in Loxahatchee. Lick. Great ice cream shop, though, I'll tell you. Lick, funny name. But yeah, and the day just went very well. The kids were great. And then later that night, my wife and I went out. We went and saw live music. And I couldn't tell you the last time I went and saw live music with my wife because of her condition. And she wasn't in pain. And I ate the fucking pile of nachos that I ate. And she got a burger. I ate the rest of her burger. I ate the nachos. I got nachos with chili. I went bananas. I only had a beer. I had a little bit of bourbon. I had a beer. And I had a little bit of bourbon at home. I'm like, you know what? I don't need to drink my sorrow. I don't need to drink anything away. I feel it. I experience it. And I'm going to take it for what it is. And I had a wonderful night with the wife, and the fact that she's better and that we could talk and relate, because there was a time where she couldn't even handle anything in her life, and now she's handling it and she's getting better, and it's fucking amazing. And I recovered well from it because there's other people that don't react well to this, and I'm very fortunate to react the way that I did. And some guys call people pussies and whatever, but you're gonna call somebody a pussy, you're a fucking pussy. People have different things that switch things in their brain and affect them differently. So I'm one of the lucky ones that I can be okay with dealing with things like that. And that's why I feel like this was something that I always, I was always cut to do something like this type of job. So, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to do what I do. It's pretty awesome. Let's see. Oh, I'm glad I wrote this down. I wrote a note down. Excuse me. Give me a second. This is water. So, while I was in the sauna, I have the quote by Theodore Roosevelt hanging on the wall through the glass of the sauna in my garage, which is basically our gym. And it's the man in the arena. And I read that. And if you haven't read that, read it. Because that's what kind of like pulled a lot of emotion out of me. Because you could relate to that. Whatever you do, in some sort of way, you can relate to that. If you're striving for something greater than yourself or to become better than average. That quote, "The Man in the Arena" by Theodore Roosevelt, I'm sure everybody could relate to in some sort of way. So that was one thing I wanted to touch on. So I really can't think of anything else significant to mention. Besides the fact that this is our job and that's what we signed up for. People that sign up for this job for money, for promotion, for clout, whatever, more power to you. I just hope that they're ready when the shit hits the fan, which a lot of people are. A lot of people are ready for it. But I remember where I was going with that. but it was crazy. It was a crazy experience. And I'll continue to pray for the family, for their well-being and their friends. Well, to end it on a good note, one of my buddies, Rich, he'll be on the show. We're going to do a bourbon podcast soon. And he came back to work. He was injured. And if it wasn't for that motherfucker, I would have never found out my wife had Lyme disease. So that's a whole nother story. Well, I touched on it in the previous podcast about my wife, how the medical system failed her. It was episode 42. And he had a ruptured tendon, broken arm, and he finally came back to work after 11 months. And man, we missed him. And we had a blast with him back at the station yesterday. And one of the things that... oh, shit. He had a call where this fucking girl was freaking out and she bit him. She bit him on the hand. It didn't break the skin, but the way he explained it, oh my God, I cried. I didn't do son of a bitch out cry, but I cried from laughter. And it was hilarious. And not to mention, I think an old man spit on him yesterday too. I'll tell you the story. Hold on. So the call, whatever. I don't remember what the call was, but the guy passed out. So the family thought his blood pressure was low. So I think they might have been Cuban, and they put salt in his mouth to bring his blood pressure back up. God bless him. But they put salt in this old man's mouth. He was 80 years old. And so Rich goes to start an IV on the guy, and the guy says something in Spanish and spits the fucking salt in his face. He's like, oh. Oh my God. And the best was Rich's reaction. And I'm going to bring this up to him again in the next podcast when I have him on. Oh, but I had to end it on a high note. Because, come on. I don't want to leave you guys upset. And I'm good, thank God. And the people that I know are good, thank God. And Unfortunately, it was a big tragedy. But all we can do is cope and move on. And I'm grateful. That's all I got. I thank you guys for listening and watching if you did. And it's the Rest of Your Perception podcast. Thank you guys. Take care.